I'll start.
All right, I think we're all ready. So, project one, we had an idea, so we came together and created an app called Hot Drop. Our idea was really had a lot more ideas that we could fit into, well, I guess 2 weeks for the first project. So what we wanted to do was kind of remaster our old project and put it to life for what we wanted it to actually be, and that was a mobile app. So we dove into a language called React Native, which was very fun.
Oh yeah.
So we'll show just a demo of the old site really quick.
Right. So this was our original site. We upgraded a bit after the Project One presentation to add things like an autocomplete and things like that, but it was kind of slow. Running something in jQuery and doing our API calls were very slow. So like this is going to take a second. That's really slow for what you want, and then like every single time you like type anything in, it's going to take another several seconds. So yeah, we did something called React Native, and what React Native is, it's React packaged in for mobile devices, for mobile apps, either iOS or Android. None of us had Macs, so none of us could make an iOS app, but so we had to use something called Android Studio to basically compile. It compiles React and send it into a regular website into an app, and that was fun. I could not get the virtual Android device working on my computer, so I had to use my phone to manually install and compile the app and install it onto my phone every single time I wanted to see changes happening. So actually, let's load it up. So it's loaded up right there. And one thing I very quickly learned is that React Native, you have to, so we all had fun learning React, right? So throw out about half of that. And also throw out a bunch of stuff you knew about HTML and CSS. Do you want to define something by pixel size? It doesn't know that. We all know wonderful divs. We use divs so much. We probably use too many divs. There's no such thing as a div in React Native. You have to have something called a view, except if you want to touch it. That's called a touchable opacity. Unless you want to highlight, then it's a touchable highlight. Unless you want to scroll, then it's a scroll view, unless it's a flat list, which is different than a scroll view, except when they act the exact same way.
So it's not HTML at all.
Yeah,
You summed it up very well.
So we have a scroll view here, which essentially acts as a scrolling view. It pulls in news from our news API call, and then every time you click on one, these are touchable highlights. It'll open up a browser window using a news article. Then you can just go right back to the original. That footer.
So
footer.
So what is Hot Drop?
Hot Drop is just the term?
Or like what is Hot Drop? What's the purpose of that?
Oh, well, from our about page, is a app designed to be a one-stop spot for info about any game you can think of. So this right here, this screen, I'm going to become a hand model if this doesn't work out. This about screen, so you can't use normal pages in the app. So we had to there's multiple things, navigation options in these apps, like stack navigation. Stack navigation literally stacks pages over them like this, and you just go back. There's drawer navigation, which is one of those things that slides out, and then you can select options. There's footer navigation. We went for stack navigation. This is the easiest. You can pass parameters through it very easily, which I'll show that off in a second. So go up to the top of the scroll. Actually, you know what? This takes a while, so just scroll back to the top, which it calls the APIs again. Then we have a horizontal scroll view, which pulls in Twitch videos, which is a streaming service which shows live gameplay of video games. And this will either, if you have it, just have a browser, it will just go to that website, the twitch.com website, and start playing it. I had to work very hard to get that.
Yeah, and this is the top stream. So these are actually the highest views right now as of everybody who's streaming videos. So right now, I guess if you press home, that right there is the most viewed stream as of right now.
Yeah.
Every time you press home, it will refresh. So it refreshes and it will give you the top stream. And then That's pretty cool. And then also it shows you the viewers and the followers based on the channel of the stream.
Actually, hold on. Oh wait, we're flipped. Wait. Oh wait, we're vertical. Sorry. So right, unless you have the Twitch app installed, in which case it'll just load up that video right now. And like, oh, it's gonna play an ad.
Yeah,
so
it's gonna
never
play
mind.
an ad.
So well.
Twitch.
Yeah. That's Twitch.
And so next thing that we pretty much are going to say is if you search any game, so we have a search bar at the very top. You can go ahead and search whatever game you want to think of, Bobby.
Okay. It takes a second sometimes to start whirring up the Heroku server. I think it's similar to what Ethan had. Yeah. No, there it goes. So yeah, it takes a second, but it's much faster. And so what we did was, because the autocomplete for the website used something called jQuery UI. You can't use jQuery with React, obviously. So I had to find a component called, what was it? It was called just React Native Autocomplete Input. And it was the most updated and the most supported one, although I very quickly learned it wasn't working. And the example that they gave, the official example, that wasn't working. And I was like, why is it not working? And I realized the example file they gave was 3 years old. And so I had to dig into the node module itself, and thanks to VS Code actually highlighting it when I moused over something, I realized that they had changed the way that arguments are meant to be passed through to it. So I got it working eventually, but that was... And actually what's happening here is that database, Fred made that. So
yeah, let me talk real quick just about the back end and what actually makes that possible.
So in the meantime, yeah, he pulls in information about the game, box art, news, or top news. Currently, we're pulling in Spanish and Brazilian news right now.
Yeah, I just set the parameters to English, so that's
and
my
you can
bad.
see a YouTube video. You can see streams of that game currently. And if it does not have autocomplete, so there's a reason why this autocomplete database only goes up so far, and Fred will talk about that. So Fred kind of went above and beyond, really, in how he did this.
All right, so can you move that? I'm going to just slide this tablet out of the way
right.
real quick so people can hopefully see the screen.
You have to zoom out. We can go do that. Just go mess stuff up. We'll mess this stuff up.
So in the meantime, let me explain. So the jQuery UI, I had to set a delay on that. It has a built-in delay for their autocomplete, the jQuery autocomplete, because obviously you don't want to call an API too many times.
It's not going to focus.
That's fine.
Our NPM module, it didn't really include that, and so we would obviously be throttled instantly if we called our game database, which is an API called Giant Bomb. If we started calling that every second, because it didn't even have a minimum character requirement before it starts doing the search, if we did that, it would obviously destroy us. So what Fred did was, Fred scraped pretty much everything, half the internet, for video game information.
So much so that I broke MLab on the first download. We're literally sitting at 490 meg right now, and you get a 500 meg limit. There are in total right now, there are 18,000 entries in our database that literally show everything from every tiny size of box art all the way up to the largest full-size image in high def. Streams, release dates, the whole 9 yards. So basically it's a master database of all the game information. So what has actually happened in that Mongoose connection to the database, basically designed an entire back end that has become our API server. So it literally catalogs every single thing that we pull.
So essentially we split our MERN stack across two different things. There's the front end is the app, and the back end is our server, which has all the Express and Mongoose on it, and routes for autocomplete, which he built that route specifically to search for stuff, and then that array that it pulls back, that becomes the database that my autocomplete module looks at and then uses as a source to filter through based on what you type into it.
So I'm going to show that code real quick. I realize it's terribly fuzzy, and I'm sorry for that since I'm on a tablet, but what you're seeing here is literally 7 JSONs that are returned for that autocomplete. And in this case, the search term was DOO, so basically Doom.
Yeah, it's really fuzzy.
Yeah, it's extremely fuzzy, and I'm sorry for that. So I'm going to type in, say, Mario. And this will show you how we're able to get the response speed that we are on the autocomplete. Watch how fast these JSONs return.
So yeah, that's obviously a much better solution for autocomplete than before. It's much faster. It does. It's obviously less intensive on other APIs. Also, we're caching a lot. So, Derek, you want to talk about async storage?
So a lot of the main reason why we did this is for API calls. Like we didn't want to hit our limit, especially with Giant Bomb. So what we did is we cached a lot of it, and we learned that if you do a single API call and we only want specific things, it's not really going to take up so much like data in the actual app itself. So it's maybe like maybe a couple strings. So if we would search like Call of Duty again, as soon as you search something, it adds it actually to the cache, which is a local storage. It's called async storage, and it's a form of local storage that is stored on pretty much the app. And so it just makes it a lot faster for searches to go through. It also doesn't call an API every time, so because we already have that data already cached in there, so it just calls it right from the actual data on the app. And so that's done every single time that you search. And we were kind of just worried about putting so much storage on the app. So that's why we just got specific things. So we just got like the title, the platforms, the things that we display essentially, instead of just the entire API, just to make it a little bit less on API calls.
Can I talk a little bit about that back in? So one of the things that we originally wanted to do with Hot Drop and weren't able to do is that we ran into a lot of cross-origin requests, basically what everybody here calls CORS. CORS says, no, you cannot have this data. At the time that we were doing the first app, we really were not familiar with Node.js. So this time around, when we revisited it, this whole back end is kind of advanced in a lot of ways compared to anything we had before. So not only is it acting as an API server, but it's literally got an almost expansive architecture. Basically, the more a user uses this app, the more data fills in the database. So that we basically expand how much we know about any given game. And we store that stuff. So like when, for example, you look at streams for a video game to see what the current active streams are, we can save that. So then we know who the content creators are, and we can then mine through that data. So that to me is probably like one of the most impressive features about this version is that it literally gets better the more people use it. The other thing that's very interesting too is just the sheer amount of data that we're able to handle. This app is so much faster and more responsive than the previous one. And a lot of that is, I think, the way we all decided to do the architecture on it. The autocomplete system is extremely fast. I can't think of another API that's literally storing as much data as we are. At this point in time, we're using YouTube, Stream, Twitch, Giant Bomb, IDB, IGN,
Polygon.
Polygon.
It's coming from the news API.
Yeah, so literally we've pulled every single gaming service together in a single app, and they're all available at your fingertips from a mobile device. That to me is insanely impressive. Yep.
We also did some OAuth, as you can see on the footer. So we use actually the same Firebase database for OAuth. So actually, if you go on our website, sign up there, you can also sign into the app right away.
I'm already logged in. So
You
I'll just log out.
Yeah, you log out and you get the
sign up
footer.
page. Oop.
You can also sign up, of course. Yeah, sign up and log in from the app as well. And then there was one more thing. Oh, so just future. This is just future things that we wanted to do with it. So as Fred was talking about, most of our APIs are coming from our server right now. What I would want in the future is that all of the APIs are coming from our server. So everything that we pull is just going to be one big, pull for whatever we're updating that day or whenever someone loads. That way, it's just one API call for every use, essentially, that you would use it for. That was pretty much my only. And also a little bit of updates on the OAuth. Some of the OAuth things are a little fuzzy right now, just because Firebase and React Native don't like to communicate with each other. So yeah, we have to kind of fix something with that. And also React Navigation is kind of give us some fits on the footer, but other than that, it's pretty good in working. Anybody else got future?
We
things?
dabbled with profiles, didn't we?
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah, profiles. Yeah,
Profiles
so-
and comments. Like,
That was something we had to cut. I was working on building that out. We just didn't have enough time. It didn't get worked into it. For some reason, my Android Studio, my computer decided to just completely give up on me. It kept getting me these errors, and no matter what I did, it was just not agreeing with me. Everything that I did, I had to send to these guys so that they could even look at it. Like, I helped build out some of the components for the login, and I had a profile page built out, but like I said, we had to cut it. I had fonts working and everything on mine, and all of a sudden it broke. I had to cut the fonts because I thought the fonts corrupted everything somehow. And with React Native, fonts are extremely limited.
it can only use like certain specific
Yeah.
system level fonts.
And even the ones that they have websites, you can go and download zip packages and unzip them and do them that way. And that's what I did, and it worked for a day.
It looked really
and
nice.
And then something happened. It's over my head. I really don't know because this is the first time we've ever messed with React Native and Android Studio. But
Also, it should be noted that React Native, iOS is really the lead platform for React Native.
Oh, for
and
sure.
so every time I would try to find something that's styling, like one of these scroll views, there's actually a, let me see if I can up the brightness a bit. That's probably going to blow out the, yep. I was trying to say, there is like a sort of like a scroll indicator. It's hard to see.
Yeah, on the right side.
Yeah, there's a scroll indicator like around here, and a scroll indicator around here. You can set the color for those, but not on Android, only on iOS. You can offset them more from the scroll view, but only on iOS, not on Android. And like I kept running into that over and over again, where I'd be like,
there are
I want
a
this
lot
to
of
look
limitations.
different, and they'd be like, nah, you can't. So
Also, a huge challenge for this was applying GitHub into this. So with Gradle files and a bunch of other files, merging it in.
Oh, yes.
I could compliment this team as much, but that was the best thing that we could have done. We didn't have any merge conflicts, especially with
Shockingly.
all the Gradle files that we had, all the Java files that it pretty much
yeah,
builds
yeah.
based on React Native
Android
code.
would build it out itself, and somehow we never had any issues with
Yeah,
that.
so
well, sometimes there were a few minor.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
issues.
those debugging logs.
Yes, because I had to manually install this onto my phone every single time to see changes. It would have to like create debugging files, and sometimes those would create conflicts because
didn't realize
people,
that's what it came from.
for some reason, the paths on those were like hard coded to like my like hard drive paths, and so like they would load that up and they'd be like, I don't know what file this is, and like they'd have to like, manually rebuild it in Android Studio. Well, that's not as hard as it sounds. It was literally a rebuild.
Yeah, once we learned how to do that, it wasn't hard. but
Which was really scary, but once we figured it out.
So one additional thing in line with the comments, all of the models that were done for this, there's 4 collections. There's the Giant Bomb, which stores our massive repository. There's basically a name ID, which is an autocomplete database that stores the name and every single ID from every service for a game. So basically that becomes kind of our data hub for how to get data from other services very quickly. All of those already contain the necessary stuff to carry this app into the future. So we already have comments set up in that database in those models. At this point, it's just a matter of finishing the code to do that. And I think in the future, that is one of the things we talked about probably in the next 2 weeks, that we would like to actually finish this app and have it up on the Android Play Store for the demonstration on August 21st. So we're going to keep working on it.
Yeah. And there are like other APIs we could be using. We could be using Steam for certain PC games. I
Yeah,
mean,
Steam would allow
is-
us to do one of the things we originally wanted to do, which is to see the number of users playing any given game at any point in time. Steam actually tracks user statistics like that, so you could literally click on a game and it will give you a bar graph that says, hey, there are currently 67,000 people in the U.S. playing this game.
also implementing like pricing and buying games
Right.
would be another thing that we'd want to do.
And once this would be way off, since I can't remember the date of it offhand. A service called Google Stadia, which is still sort of in early development, which is a cloud gaming service, literally as in you tap a button and it starts rendering like a game, like server side, like on a cloud server that Google owns, and then showing that game on your device's screen. So like you could run like the most top of the line game that would like bring a PC to its knees on your phone. So
So-
like, and you could do that from like a YouTube video. So we could put that in there once that launches. Like if you look up a game and say like play it now, and you would literally start playing it now, just to see what it is. So
are there any questions on the app? Comments? Criticisms? You guys suck.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.